Cowboy Bebop was released in 1998, is created by Shinichiro Watanabe, and follows a group of bounty hunters on a ship called the Bebop as they fly around different parts of space collecting bounties. This show is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this anime series of reviews, because I've been wanting to talk about it for quite some time, and now I finally get the chance to talk about how great Cowboy Bebop is. Everything about this show is near perfection. The animation, like I've said before in other anime reviews, is gorgeous to look at. And here, it's very traditional in a sense in terms of anime animation, but there's a certain grittiness and almost noir style to it that makes it a little bit more different and makes it stand out amongst other animes that came out around that time. It looks a bit dirtier, it looks a bit grittier, and just has a more moodier atmosphere to it that you may not get with other animes. And I think it fits with the tone of the show perfectly, because I think for the most part this is a pretty serious show. But it's the characters and the situations that they're in that do lead to some rather comedic and sometimes light-hearted moments in the show's run. I wouldn't say this is a full-on drama, per se, but this is definitely a mostly serious show that happens to have some humorous parts of it. And like I just said, those humorous parts come from the amazing characters that this show sets up. Whether it be Spike Spiegel, the main character, who is one of the most iconic and probably best anime characters I've seen, like just full stop. He's incredibly laid back. His fighting style is really unique. There's a bit of Bruce Lee in there, but there's also bits of other martial artists in there as well. Everything that comes out of his mouth is just gold. And obviously I listen to the dub. I watched the dubbed version even. Not listen. But yeah, Steve Blum's performance as Spike Spiegel is perfect. I cannot imagine Spike sounding any other way. His voice, for me, is just immediately connect. Like if you tell me to think of a character, and I think of Spike Spiegel, that is the first thing I will think of, is Steve Blum's voice attached to that. Kind of like how James L. Jones's voice is immediately synonymous with Darth Vader. It's the two things work so perfectly together that you can't imagine them happening any other way. And yeah, in that sense, the voice acting, especially for the dub, is brilliant from everyone. Faye Valentine is a brilliant character as well. She's very quick to answer back. She's rather rude at times, but there is a certain sense to her in a few points throughout the series of vulnerability. Like, yeah, she might be this hard-edged woman who is kind of her own boss, but there are a couple of points in the show where her vulnerability does start to show, and you realise she's just a normal person, she's a normal woman. And that's one thing I love about this show, especially the main characters like Jet and Spike and Faye. They have these characteristics, they have these personalities. But every once in a while you start to see inside those characters. You start to see that they're just normal people stuck in a really odd and bizarre situation. And that's what I love about this show, amongst other things. I've already mentioned that the animation is great in this show, but whenever we get to action scenes in the show, whether it be dogfights in spaceships or hand-to-hand combat or shootouts, it's all fantastic. It does look a little bit, not dated, but aged in a sense. But it fits with the style of the show. And when I mean aged, I mean like it looks like it is an old show. But again, it works. It fits with that kind of faded, gritty, moody style that really makes the show what it is. And also just the overall feel of it really fits into whenever it decides to reference other movies and TV shows, and even music. That pretty much makes up the core of what this show is. I mean, a lot of the titles of the episodes are famous song names, like Sympathy for the Devil, and a few others. I just love that whole these tiny little things that make up the show as a whole, that you don't realize are actually references to other things that pre-existed it. Until you look at it from a distance. Also, I have to mention the music. The music in the show is brilliant. It goes through so many different genres to the point where it really shouldn't work on paper, but in execution, it does, because each genre fits a specific episode or moment in the show. For example, if a shootout's about to happen, it gets very Western. It goes into almost a spaghetti Western kind of style of music, and it's very reminiscent of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But that being said, you then take the show's main theme, the main intro, and it's straight up jazz. I don't really know what else I can say about Cowboy Bebop that hasn't already been said, which is why this review is a little bit hard to do, because I feel like this show has been kind of reviewed to its extent, which isn't a bad thing because it means more people are watching it, but I honestly don't know what else I can say that hasn't been said by millions of other people already, which is why I'm going to give Cowboy Bebop a 10 out of 10. I just kind of have to, because even though there are some episodes that slow the pace of the series down, the overall pace and feel of the show is so impactful and good as a whole that those one or two off episodes are kind of not really a big deal in the grand scheme of things. If you like the video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bye!